Good morning, world. It is Ivan Omer. It is 3:07 in the morning. Bad news, the internet cord's not here. It was here, and then like my step parents just took away the cord like right now at 3 o'clock in the morning because they're fucking weird people, obviously. Yeah. Obviously, they took away the cord, so you're gonna have to wait until I don't know. You're gonna have to wait until like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So in a good like 4 or 5 hours from now, my video will be uploaded on YouTube for you guys to watch. As usual, obviously. And yeah. So I watched Rings of Power, the first episode. Um, I watched Rings of Power, obviously, the first episode today. And tomorrow I'll watch the second episode that got released. Ivan, what are your thoughts on the show? I think the show is okay. I think it's pretty good. 5.86 out of 10 show. I don't think it's terrible. Some good things in the show. Some beautiful cinematography, good writing, obviously. Good quality writing. The writing is good quality writing, obviously. Good, rich speech. Beautiful cinematography, obviously. I'm not a some of the VFX is a little bit too much, obviously. But overall, I think the show is a pretty good show. I think it's pretty good. I liked it better than Wheel of Time, to be honest. As Wheel of Time, I saw the first like 10 minutes of the show and I shut it off. I'm like, I can't watch this. This is not that great. Whereas Rings of Power is pretty good. I saw the whole first episode. I was gonna watch the second episode, but like right at the end of the first episode, that was when the internet cord got disconnected, so I couldn't watch the second episode. But tomorrow I'll watch the second episode of Rings of Power. You see what I'm saying? And it has beautiful music. The scene when the with the hobbits, you know what I'm saying? The hobbits in the second age, obviously. The gothic looking hobbits, obviously. You got that beautiful music. Yeah, that was beautiful, obviously. Beautiful cinematography, beautiful music, obviously. Good, pretty good writing. In terms of writing for the story, it's pretty good. But in terms of the richness of speech, is very good writing, obviously. But the show obviously has some problems, obviously. The look of the elves, some of the world building, it looks a little bit too much. You know, you can tell the writing is a bit the what that news site that said that it's a bit too Tolkienistic. Yes, it is. You can tell the writers they tried too hard to be too Tolkien. The speech is very rich, and you can tell they're trying a little bit too hard in some scenes when you see the actors acting and all. So yeah, it's a bit too Tolkienistic, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but it's nothing like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Not even. It's not even a fuck. It's not even a close. Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings blows it out of the water. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I believe had Peter Jackson consulted, you probably would have had a better show, man. You would have had better ideas, obviously. But the show was not terrible. It's a good show. It's a good show. You know what I'm saying? It's not terrible, but it's not like Game of Thrones. It's like you know what I'm saying. It's just a pretty good show to watch. I rate it a good 6 out of 10. It's a good show, but it isn't like great. I wouldn't say it's a 9 out of 10. No, it's like a 6 out of 10 for me. But there's some fans out there who hate it. There's some fans out there who hate the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power show, and there's some fans who love it, and there's some fans who think it's pretty good. They're in the middle like me. 6 out of 10 show. Not too bad, not too great, pretty good. That's what I think the show is. I mean, that's a fair statement. Yeah, the show is not terrible, but it's not great. In my opinion, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good show. Amazon the Amazon showrunners did a good job. The show's pretty good. I was entertained enough to watch the second episode. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't. It's not like Game of Thrones. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing like Game of Thrones. I don't think it'll be the next game. Who knows? But here, I only saw the first episode. You know what I'm saying? Because when you see the first episode, it's obviously a slow episode. You have the build up. The build up, obviously. You have the build up, obviously. You have the beginning when Galadriel's a kid. She has a brother. Her brother dies, obviously. You know what I'm saying? You have Elrond. Obviously, you have Elrond. Yeah, you have all those guys. Yeah, obviously. Sims Air. No, I was just saying yes. The show is pretty good, but it's not great. There's some fans who love the show, obviously. If some fans love the show, I will not be surprised. Because the show has beautiful cinematography, you know what I'm saying, rich writing, beautiful music, very beautiful music, obviously, and you know what I'm saying. And you have Ivan. Does it feel like Middle Earth? It feels like Middle Earth, but it doesn't feel like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. It feels like a different universe. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really feel like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, obviously, which you would expect because it's not Jackson's trilogy. It's a television series. It's a prequel. It's a television series, hence you expect it. You expect it to be to look a little different, obviously, but it has a little bit of that Lord of the Rings feel, obviously, when I watch it. But the trailers didn't really give me that feel. When I saw the show, in other words, the Amazon showrunners they proved me wrong. Obviously, as I personally thought the show wouldn't be that great, to be honest. I thought it'd be like when I saw the trailers, like something tells me this show might flop. But I don't think Amazon's Rings of Power will flop. It won't flop. As I saw the first episode, it's a pretty good show. But it's not Lord of the Rings, and it's not Peter Jackson's The Hobbit. So I'm saying, as The Hobbit is even better than Rings of Power, in my opinion. So I'm saying, even though The Hobbit was a little messy and Peter Jackson winning it, the movies are pretty good. It was better than obviously Rings of Power, obviously. So I'm saying, but Rings of Power is a pretty good show. It's a pretty good show, and I'm excited to watch episode 2 tomorrow. I was gonna watch the 2 episodes today, but I'll watch episode 2 tomorrow, and I'll comment a little bit on episode 2. But there were some problems, like for example, that action sequences in the beginning, that was bad. And I'm like, guys, please, like, there's nothing worse than having a good making a great fantasy show, and your action sequences are terrible. No man, put money into the action, just make it good. From what I've seen from that one scene, that one action sequence, that was terrible. You know what I'm saying? The scene with Galadriel when they fight that troll, whatever it is, that was okay. But it's television. Television, you don't expect to get as good action sequences because it's television. So I'm saying it's not movie, it's not film or movie. So I'm saying, huh? So I'm saying it's not television or television is different than movies. Television, the action sequences are not as good as movies, obviously, because it's television, obviously. You see what I'm saying? But I think the showrunners of Amazon Rings of Power did a pretty good job. As I think the show's pretty good, to be honest. From what I've seen, from what I've seen so far, from what I've seen from the first episode, I'm like, yeah, they're what? There's some potential in this show. There's a lot of potential in the show, obviously. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of potential, obviously, but it's not. It's not. I don't think it's Game of Thrones. I only saw like 1 or 2 episodes of Game of Thrones. What I've seen so far, I don't think will be better than Game of Thrones. But you never know. It might be even better. From what I've seen so far on Amazon Rings of Power, obviously, I think it has potential to. It has the potential is there. The potential is there for it to be better than Game of Thrones. But the writers are going to have to really, really put in the work and write some amazing script for the next couple episodes. We'll see what happens. Let's see how much better the episodes are for Rings of Power. It has potential. The potential's there, obviously, to be the next Game of Thrones, but I don't think it will be. I think it'll be a good show, but I don't think it'll be the next Game of Thrones, to be honest. So I'm saying I don't think it'll be the next Game of Thrones. But who knows? It might be. I only saw like 1 or 2 episodes of Game of Thrones. I saw like 1 episode of Game of Thrones, season 1. I haven't back in like 2010-11. I didn't see any other episodes, so I'm gonna have to watch the whole 8 seasons of Game of Thrones. See what I'm saying? Ivan, what do you think is the best strength of Rings of Power? The best strength, I believe what really lifts the show's quality, obviously, is the cinematography. Obviously, it's beautiful cinematography, and the world building is beautiful. Obviously, the music, beautiful music. Yeah, I have announced some beautiful music. Yeah, beautiful music, and the rich dialogue, obviously. But I think the dialogue is a bit too rich. I think you can tell the writers are trying way, way too hard to be. They're trying really, really hard to make it very Tolkien. So I can see what that critic that said it's a bit too Tolkien. It is. It's very, very Tolkien. It's the dialogue is too rich. Like they should dial it down a bit on the richness of the dialogue. You can tell they're trying too hard with their dialogue, like to be too Tolkien. Don't do that. Just what? Just what? Tone it down a little bit. You know what I'm saying. But the actions, for what I've seen from the action sequence so far, it isn't too great. The action sequences are not that great in the show, to be honest. When Galadriel and them fight the troll in the beginning of episode 1, that action scene was not bad. But the war, that flashback when you got to the war, obviously with Galadriel's brother, I believe, or Elrond, I forget. That was terrible action. And I'm like, if you're gonna have war in your show, Amazon, for the Rings of Power show, make sure you have good quality action sequences like Game of Thrones. Don't have some cheesy action sequence like you got for that beginning. That was bad, man. That was bad. You know what I'm saying? That's what worries me about from what I've seen so far about the show. I hope if you have action sequences in the other episodes, please put some pretty decent action sequences, good quality action sequences. Don't have cheesy fighting action sequences. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, it can really, really downgrade your show, man. You know what I'm saying? It can really, really downgrade your show. It can really, really downgrade your show. You know what I'm saying? It can really, really downgrade your show. Ivan, you think it's better than The Hobbit? No, it's not better than The Hobbit. The Hobbit is better than Rings of Power. Don't hate me, Amazon. But it has beautiful music. The music in Rings of Power is very, very beautiful. It's very good music. You know what I'm saying? But The Hobbit is better than Rings of Power, in my opinion. And Lord of the Rings blows it out of the water. It's not even close, man. It's not even a competition. But there's some people who think the show's terrible. I think the people who say the show's terrible, I think they're... Everyone's entitled to their opinion, obviously, but I think they're wrong. The show is not terrible. I watched it. I watched the first episode. It's not a terrible show. But it's not great. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, anyways. There's other people who think, if you think it's great, it's your opinion. But for what I've seen, the show is not great. It's not Game of Thrones. But I haven't seen Game of Thrones, to be fair. But the show is pretty good. I rated it a good, like, 6 out of 10. It's a pretty good show. You know what I'm saying? But the show has some flaws, too. You know what I'm saying? But no television show's perfect. No movie's perfect. Even Lord of the Rings has flaws. But Lord of the Rings is like the almost perfect movie. The almost perfect movie because what are the flaws? The only flaws I have in Lord of the Rings are the CGI technology and the editing. Those are the flaws in Lord of the Rings. Whereas in terms of story, it's pretty much a perfect story. I don't really see any flaws. There's a few flaws, obviously, in the story, obviously, but it's the almost perfect script. It's a masterpiece, man. It's a masterpiece, I'm saying. It's a masterpiece. Yeah. Ivan, you like the look of the world building? Yeah, the world building in Rings of Power is very beautiful, obviously. Very beautiful. But there's some scenes where it looks a little too CGI and too cheesy, obviously. That's why I'm going to be very, very strict with Peter Jackson. Peter, I don't want the world to look too computery or look too natural. I want the balance. Okay, Ivan, what are you thinking of then? I'm thinking like your Lord of the Rings trilogy, Peter. You have the balance of the natural feel and the amazing CGI feel. You need both. If you're going to do a fantasy movie, you need your CGI to make your world look amazing, but you also need your practical effects so your world looks more natural. And therefore you get a better movie. Rings of Power kind of has the balance of natural and CGI. You can tell there's some scenes where it looks natural, some scenes where it looks very computer, obviously. But some scenes where it looks way too computery in Rings of Power. I don't want that too computery look, Peter. You need to mix it. Mix it with your practical effects and your CGI technology. Okay, Ivan, I think you're saying yeah. So Ivan, you want the balance. Yes, I want the 50-50 balance. 50% CGI, 50% the practical effects. You have the balance. Your world looks very amazing, but it looks natural too. It looks more natural. Too much of what? Too much of one side your movie won't be good. Too much CGI will make your world look too computery, and hence it won't be as good. Too much practical effects will make your world with little CGI will make your world look too natural. Like the movie Prey. The movie Prey looked very very natural. No, if you do that for fantasy movie, your movie won't be as good. It will flop. It won't be good. And if you have it look too computer, it also won't be that good either. You see what I'm saying? You need both. You need to mix it. Yeah. So I recommend all you guys who have not watched The Rings of Power, I recommend you check it out on Amazon Prime. See what I'm saying? Check it out on Amazon. It came out yesterday, September 2nd. I believe it premiered on theaters in a couple places around the world, obviously, like a couple days earlier before the premiere. But it officially premiered on September 2nd, obviously. But I believe it premiered on September 1st in Britain, I believe. So all these people who have their hookups and connections, they saw the early screenings of the show on select theaters and then online and all that stuff, right? Yeah. Some saying? Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, remember that beautiful music you got in Rings of Power with the Hobbit, with the hobbits in their village, right? Remember that beautiful music? Yeah, think of beautiful music like that for Zanus. Yeah, this beautiful music, yeah, with Takis and Zanus and Tacitonius, their kids, they're trading the Zayn arts. You're kind of masters of a story, yeah, man. Look at an amazing story. You're looking at an amazing story, man. An amazing story, yeah, man. An amazing story. You're looking at an amazing story, Evan. But yeah, so Ivan, what's your rating? I think Rings of Power, in my opinion, is a good show. I think it's a good show, but I don't think it's great. I don't think it's terrible. I don't. I think it's a good show though. I watched it. I'm like, yeah, I want to watch more of this. I can't wait to see what happens next. Yeah, it's a good show, obviously, but it's not. I don't think it's Game of Thrones. You know what I'm saying? But it's better than Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time was terrible, man. I remember I saw the first like 10 minutes of it. I was like, yeah, I'm not watching this. This is terrible. You know what I'm saying. Whereas Rings of Power, I saw the first like 10 minutes of it. The beginning of it was this isn't that great, and I kept watching. Oh, it's pretty good. This is pretty good. You know what I'm saying? I used to get the beautiful music with the hobbits. It's pretty good. This is pretty good shit. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But there's some people who think it's terrible. Obviously. Here's the thing though. If you compare Rings of Power too much with Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, you will think it's pretty terrible. Obviously, because it's pretty bad when you compare it to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. But when you just take away that bias and you separate the show from the movie, obviously, and you put on your unbiased glasses and you watch it, you know what I'm saying? You start to appreciate more of the world of Tolkien, all that stuff, the beautiful music, the hobbits in the Second Age, younger Elrond. You know what I'm saying? The actor for Elrond, he even imitates Hugo Weaving pretty well. When he speaks, you can tell he has some of Hugo Weaving's characteristics. Yeah, I noticed that obviously. Pretty good stuff, obviously, but what? But in my opinion, the show is not great. But it's not terrible. It's a good show, man. It's a pretty good show. I give it like a 6 out of 10. It's a pretty good show. 6.2, 6.3 out of 10. So it's a good show. And, and you know what I'm saying? And when I watched the first episode, I'm like, yeah, if crazier things happen in the following episodes, this has potential to be. The potential's there for it to be the next Game of Thrones, but they have to do it right, man. You got to write it good. You got to. We'll see what happens later on this season. Obviously, we'll see what happens. Obviously, some saying. Yeah, you're welcome, Amazon, promoting your fucking show out there. Yeah. I wonder what Peter Jackson thought of this show, because I guarantee Peter Jackson saw the 2 episodes. I wonder what Peter Jackson thought of the show. I'm pretty sure Peter Jackson thinks it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good, Ivan. It's not bad. It's pretty good. It's not my masterpiece, but it's pretty good. Yeah, it's not Peter Jackson's masterpiece, Lord of the Rings, but it's pretty good, obviously. It's a pretty good show. It's a good show. Yeah. Hence why I'm going to tell Peter Jackson, Peter, I don't want that what? I don't want that Hobbit and Rings of Power look. Because even though Rings of Power, you have some natural look. It looks very computery, obviously, in a lot of scenes. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Peter, I don't want the world to look too computer, but I don't want it to look too natural either. I want the, okay, you want the balance, Ivan, yes. Yeah, Ivan, what do you, okay, he'll ask me, Ivan, okay, what example can you give me for your movie? Your Lord of the Rings trilogy, Peter. I'm saying the world, for Lord of the Rings, you had the 50-50 balance. You had a lot of scenes where it looked natural, but it also looked very amazing with the CGI. Yeah, something like that, Peter. You have the balance of CGI and practical effects. When Rivendell and Fellowship of the Ring, you had the balance. It looked very amazing, but it also looked natural because they built sets. Obviously, yeah. So and you tell Peter that way he knows. Okay, Ivan, if you want the Lord of the Rings look like my movie trilogy, you're gonna have to rent the film cameras, not the IMAX ones. Yes, not the digital ones. If you rent the digital ones, If you rent the digital cameras, you're gonna get the computer look, Ivan. You need to rent the film cameras. Yeah, the film cameras, obviously. Peter might be shocked with Ivan. Ivan, why don't you want full CGI? CGI is where it's at today, Ivan. Everyone uses CGI for movies, Ivan. You know what I'm saying? CGI is where it's at, Ivan. Why aren't you a fan of full CGI villains? No, Peter, I don't want full CGI villains. Look at how your Azog character turned out, man. He looked very amazing. He looked a little cheesy because it was full CGI technology. Look at how your Goblin King turned out in the mines, in the cave mines, in an unexpected journey. He looked amazing, but very computery and cheesy. No. So Ivan, so you want Eretad to look natural, but he looks also. You mix in the special effects, he looks amazing and scary. Yes, just like your Orc High in Two Towers, they look natural, but they also look very amazing and scary when you add it in the special effects. Obviously, something like that. Except I don't want Eretad to wear those costumes and masks like those orcs in your Lord of the Rings movies. No, otherwise it won't be as good. I want them to wear more professional masks, like that devil being an Annabelle. Professional masks. I'm not a fan of the way the orcs look in Rings of Power. I'm not a fan of the way the orcs look like in your Lord of the Rings, Peter. But I'm giving you an example for your Lord of the Rings movie as those orcs all wore prosthetic masks. Yes, I want the voice actors. I want the characters, the actors to wear their mask, and then we apply the special effects towards them, the horrific mask. That way they look more amazing, but they look more natural. Oh, Ivan, you want the balance? Yes, I want you to. I want to apply the hundreds of millions towards CGI technology towards these demonic costumes and masks, so where they look scary, where they look more natural. They don't look full computer like Azog. You know what I'm saying, huh? I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure that people design like good masks, whereby you get good facial movements for the voice for the actors when they speak and they smile and they speak. They have consistency with their facial movements. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, Ivan, you're gonna have to make sure you create good quality masks whereby you have good facial movements for the characters when they talk and all stuff. Yes, yes, you have to do that. Obviously, the only good thing about CGI is you get better consistency with the facial movements because the characters wear the CGI technology and it's easier for the people to what it's easier to what to edit all the facial movements when the characters talk and all stuff because it's a computer generated technology. Was when they wear like a mask, obviously they're talking in the mask, and sometimes their facial movements might not be as good, obviously. And you need to make sure they create good quality mask, obviously. Because I'm putting a lot of money towards my the machining for the mask, you're looking at unheard of professional masks the actor's gonna wear. You know how the voice actor for Pennywise the Clown he wore this mask? Yeah, something like that. He wears a mask, and then remember, go watch the movie Annabelle. You can go on YouTube, watch that clip. Devil being an Annabelle. Remember that demon that appeared? He looked very scary. He looked also very amazing when they applied the special effects. Yeah, he wears that costume and he looks very scary, obviously, but he looks natural. Except the Airtech will be even scarier than that being because I'm pouring in more money towards special effects and towards the John Howland. We're going to create like demons with the concept arts. Some saying, yeah, I've been just saying, yeah. Some there. Yeah, obviously. You see what I'm saying? Or I message just saying yes. Obviously. I message just saying yes. You see what I'm saying? I message just saying yes. Yes, obviously. Yeah. So let's talk contracts. I'm gonna keep saying this. Let's talk contracts here. And I hope you guys enjoyed my last video where I talked about my sequel idea. Ivan, that was your idea for the sequel? Yes, man. That would have been the sequel you would have got had I oversaw Disney. You have the story of Rey becoming a Jedi. She becomes Luke's pupil, obviously. Luke's best student, Kylo Ren, his nephew, who's Anakin's grandson, turns to the dark side. And he becomes Snoke's apprentice. And then Luke wants to bring him back to the light side, just like he brought Anakin back to the light side in the originals. And he destroys the devil once and for all who turned his nephew to the dark side and made him do unspeakable things, unspeakable evil things, just like Vader did unspeakable things. Um, uh, Palpatine made Anakin do unspeakable things, kill younglings, wipe out the Viceroy. You know what I'm saying? He made him do evil things. Obviously, yeah, he made Kylo Ren do evil things too. So, right. So you have a tragedy of the Skywalker. It's like a tragedy of the Skywalker bloodline. Obviously, there's like a curse in the Skywalker bloodline, whereby, you know what I'm saying, yeah, and Yoda tells Luke, I'm afraid something similar might happen to Anakin's grandson that happened decades ago to Anakin. I'm afraid he might turn to the dark side too. You know what I'm saying? The same DNA runs in Anakin's veins. Yes. And Luke's like, what about me? He's like, I have the same DNA, and I didn't turn. I didn't turn, and I didn't turn to the what, the dark side. You know what I'm saying? He was wrong. Obviously, Kylo Ren turned to the dark side. Obviously, and Rey brings him back to the light. Rey brings him back to the light. Obviously, and she falls in love with Finn. Her and Finn become lovers, obviously, and they fall in love in the movie. They fall in love, obviously. I don't know, the end of the third movie, they kiss. And they fall in love. Yeah, Rey and Finn will become lovers, obviously. You have Poe, Han Solo, you know what I'm saying? Leia and Rose and all them. They fight in the against the First Order. The Resistance versus the First Order, yeah. In the end, you have an epic war with the Resistance versus the First Order. And you have an epic battle with Rey versus Kylo Ren. Obviously, the Kylo Ren and Rey battle is big, obviously, but the bigger one is Luke versus Snoke, Jedi Master versus Sith Master. Yeah, Jedi Master versus Sith Master, obviously. And there's an epic battle in the end. That's what you would have got from my fucking sequel idea, man. Not that fucking sequel, that mess that you got for fucking Disney, obviously. You see what I'm saying? Oh, Ivan, I guarantee you some of the Disney execs are like, oh fuck, man. I wish we told that story, man. Ivan, like, holy shit, how do you do it? You have a gift, yeah. I have a gift, obviously. Yeah, your story is very simple, like the prequels and the originals, and it does not contradict George Lucas's story. You expect a story like that for the sequels, yeah. Even George Lucas, yeah, Ivan, that's a pretty good story. You know what I'm saying? It's in line. It's in line with my what? With my trilogies. Yes. Whereas the sequels were not in line with George Lucas sequels at all, with trilogy at all. You had all these plot holes and contradictions. Yeah, man. All these plot holes. The only movie that was in line with George Lucas trilogy was the first movie. You have Han Solo. He's what? He's in the Millennium. They find him in the Millennium Falcon. You meet Leia. Rey awakens in the Force, obviously, and there's a math Luke Skywalker. That's pretty good. But everything else after that is just a mess going forward. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, as Ryan Johnson obviously didn't really care about honoring George Lucas's. He made a Star Wars story, a Star Wars movie for himself. He didn't make it for the fans. If he really cared about the fans, he would have what? He would have made it. He wouldn't have made a Herbert Luke man. He would have had the Luke from the originals, who tries to bring Kylo Ren back to the light. I think I can bring him back. You know what I'm saying? The Skywalker bloodline, the Skywalker blood runs in his veins. Yes, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And he goes to fight. He goes to fight. He has an epic battle with Snoke in the end. That's the Luke of the originals, not some fucking hermit Luke who's depressed, sits in an island and drinks green milk and what? And doesn't want to train Rey and tries to burn the Jedi text. No. No, Ryan. And who appears as a Force Ghost and he doesn't even put in the effort to bring Kylo Ren back. Are you here to save my soul? No. You know what I'm saying? The Luke in the originals would have tried to bring his nephew back to the light, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Because even though Kylo Ren's a monster, he's not as evil as Vader. Vader did unspeakable things too. Vader was a monster too. Vader was a bigger monster than even Kylo Ren. You see what I'm saying? Well, they're both pretty. Kylo Ren was a monster. He killed his own father. But Anakin killed his own wife too. They're both monsters. You know what I'm saying? They're both monsters. They're both monsters. You see what I'm saying? They're both monsters, obviously. Yo, Ivan, man, that would have been a good movie, man. That would have been a pretty good sequel that you made that. Yeah, it would have. It's too late, guys. The sequel trilogies are already happened, and you can't fix that. There's no going back from what you got for the sequel trilogies. You cannot fix that. See what I'm saying? Same goes for the Matrix. I'm not kidding around. Had Warner Bros. Not made that Matrix, had Warner Bros. Not made that Matrix Resurrection movie, I highly would have considered, after I did my Zane's movie, I would have highly considered purchasing the rights off the Matrix for a good like $2.4 billion. And instead of making those four movies, I would have made the Matrix trilogy. You know, I would have had Keanu Reeves appear as a cameo. You know what I'm saying? I would have had a lot of ideas. Yeah, man. For a good the Matrix did 1.9 billion for the three movies. For a good like three, the Matrix did about like 1.6, 1.7 billion dollars around there for the three movies. Around there for a good 2 billion, 2.1 billion dollars. Warner Bros. Would have got to give me the rights, unless they wouldn't sell it. Obviously, Sean McCavier.